Hi guys, this lesson is going to be on positive and negative integers. It comes from the standard maths.6.ns.3.5. What we're going to be doing in this lesson is we're going to understand that positive and negative numbers are used together to describe quantities, which are amounts, and that they have opposite values. We're also going to relate this to real world type contexts such as temperatures above zero or below zero, and elevation, which is how high something is, or below sea level, which is how low something is, including credits and debits that has to do with banking, and positive and negative electric charges. So we'll go through some examples in this lesson as well as in class so you can relate positive and negative integers to your everyday life. All right, we're going to take these notes in a composition notebook, so you want to turn to the next available 2 pages. You need a pencil. Yes, I said pencil, not pen. Do not take these class notes in pen. And you also need a ruler or a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, you could just use the edge of your folder or a piece of paper to draw a straight line, because we will be working with number lines today. Now this lesson does go with chapter 5 lesson 1, which is 5.1 in your books. That starts on page 345. You don't have to have your books out and open to these pages, but if you do want to follow along in there, or you want to refer back to those pages in the future for extra examples, this is where you could find it. So let's get started. All right, so go ahead and start with putting a title, positive and negative integers. We need to start by defining what an integer is. An integer is positive whole numbers, their opposites, and 0. So go ahead and pause right now and get this down. All right, so what we're going to do is go ahead and take that ruler and draw a straight line like I did here. Now I put arrows on each end of my line, so you can see I put an arrow at the left side and the right side because this is a number line. Number lines go forever and ever and ever in each direction. And then I put a dash through the center of it, just like I have shown here. If you need to pause your video to finish your line, go ahead and pause that video because we're going to start adding numbers to our number line. So here I put the number 0, and to the right of it I went ahead and put about 6 dashes, and I numbered them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These are our positive integers. These are the numbers that we've been working with so far since kindergarten or even before then. So these are our positive numbers. So go ahead and do that. Now we're going to do the same thing with negative integers. Now we're going to go ahead and do our 6 dashes to the left of 0. You can see here the way that you would write a negative number is by putting like that minus sign in front of it. Now the closest to 0 is -1. So I'm talking about this guy right here. That's -1. If you go further away from 0, it goes -2, and then -3, -4, and so forth. And so let's go ahead and label our negative numbers. Now we do want to talk about the number 0. The number 0, you guys, is in the middle. It separates our two sides. 0 is neither positive nor negative. Okay, here I wrote 0 is neither negative nor positive. It's just neutral. It's in the middle. So it doesn't have a positive. It doesn't have a negative. It is what it is. Now the next thing we're going to go ahead and talk about are opposites, or opposite numbers. We've already been working with opposites, especially on our QPRs in class. These are numbers that are the same distance from 0. So go ahead and write that down. Remember, pause your video so you have time to write the whole thing. So for instance here, when we're talking about opposite numbers, I'm going to go ahead and let me choose a color here. Let's do pink. All right, so if I'm looking at the number 3, so now direct your attention to the number line. If I look at the number 3, 3 is 3 spots away from 0. So it's like 1, 2, 3 spots away from 0. The opposite of 3 would be -3 because it too is 3 spots away from 0. So we are pretty good with opposites. If you have a positive 3, its opposite is -3. If you have a -6, the opposite is positive 6. So it really is the number that's on the other side of 0 on a number line. All right, so the next thing we're going to talk about is how to actually graph integers on a number line. So once again, I want you to take that straight edge and I want you to make a number line and put your number in the middle to represent or the dash in the middle to represent the number 0. All right, so here you can see that I went ahead and filled in my number line. So I've got my 0, and then to the right of my number line, I went ahead and just did 4 dashes, 1, 2, 3, 4. And to the left of 0, I did my negative dashes, -1, -2, -3, and -4. So one thing I want to point out is when you're graphing numbers on a number line, you want to make sure you're actually putting a point, a solid dot, like on the actual number line. So for instance, let's say I want you to graph -2. So you find where -2 is on your number line, and you actually just put a dot right on the line like I did here. I kind of did a really big dot here. The reason why I'm emphasizing this is a lot of people will just put the dots above the line, and that's not accurate. You want to make sure you're putting it on the actual line. So let's do another one. I'm going to make my lines a little smaller here. Let's say I want you to graph the number 3. So you find where 3 is on the number line, and you put a dot on the actual 3, like so. If I were to ask you to put a dot or to graph the number 0, and I put a slash through my 0 sometimes, just put a dot right at the 0. And it really is as basic as that. So the last one we're going to do is we're going to actually draw a vertical number line. A vertical number line is one that goes up and down. Now, we end up using these vertical number lines when we talk about temperatures or elevation, which we'll be talking about in class tomorrow. So we're going to go ahead and put our line through the center. This is going to be our 0. So I'm putting the 0 here. And then I'm going to use some dashes. So I've got my 1. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me erase that. My 1 goes above. My 2. My 3. My 4. And then I'm going to do the same thing going below. So it's -1, -2. -3 and -4, and so forth like that. So if I ask you to graph the numbers -3, 0, 2, and 4, like so. What you're going to do is you're going to put a dot next to or on the actual line, but on the actual line next to the numbers, each of these numbers right here that I'm showing you. So for instance, -3, we're going to go ahead and put a dot at the -3. Let me change my colors here. -3 is located below 0, so that's where my dot is there. My 0 would go here. My number 2, dot right there, and my number 4, and my dot goes right there. So as you can see, it is pretty basic. Now, when you come back to class tomorrow, we're going to be getting information and using the number lines in order to figure out whether our numbers are going to be positive or negative. All right, guys, that's it for now. Make sure you have these notes neatly completed, and we'll see you back in class.